everyone, welcome back to my channel Code with Hafiz. My name is Hafizullah Masoudi, and today I'm going to show you guys how to update in single page applications using Laravel and Vue.js. So let's start guys, but before we start I want to say guys that if you didn't have subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel for support and to not miss any updates or more uploads from me. So let's start guys. Open the project in your text editor. In my case it is Visual Studio Code. So let's go to resources, views, and or not views guys, JS component and welcome component, because our edit link is located in this component. As you can see, this is the welcome component. So what I'm going to do is, instead of this href, let's remove this and create a router dash link. And for the text, let's say edit, and it should go to, well, let's also bind this to, and inside here let's declare our curly brackets and let's give it a name. So the name should be edit and comma. Let's also pass some parameters, so params, and our curly brackets, well, we want to name this param or first parameter ID, which is employee.id. We are getting the ID from this employee object. Let's also give this router link a class, so give the class of btn-success. Now let's create this Vue Js route in our routes file. So open your routes.js, and in here at the bottom let's copy this route and paste it here. Let's give it a name also. So name should be, let's say, edit. Well guys, when you want to give a Vue.js route a name, so it should be inside this single quote. So grab this one inside single quote also, because it won't work. So the path should be edit, and we also have ID coming, so /:id. And let's also name our component, so let's name it edit. Yeah, that's fine. Now let's duplicate this one and import our edit component also. So edit component, and its name is edit. Now the next part is guys to create this edit component. So let's open our create component and let's say Ctrl+Shift+S to save us, and we only want to change this create to edit and say save. So let's check it out how it looks like. So if I go back to the browser, well, before checking it out, it won't work because we are not running our yarn watch. So let's open a cmd or command prompt window. Let's first navigate to our project folder, so cd://vamp64/www/laravel view, and now let's say yarn run watch. Now if we go back to the browser, let's also open our inspect element, and now let's say refresh. And as you can see, when I hover over this edit button at the bottom, you can see we are passing the ID, and when I click on this, yeah, we are getting the ID. So our code is working just fine. Now according to this ID, now we want to grab the employee information from the database. So let's get back to our text editor, and in this edit blade or not blade component, first let's remove this form data because we don't need it, and instead of that we want to create an object by the name of employee, which is an empty collection. After that, in our methods section, let's create another method called getEmployee, and inside this method let's say axios.get, and for the endpoint, let's say get employee slash. We also want to grab the ID from the URL and pass it here. So how can we do that? Let's first say class, because we want to concatenate. So let's say now this dot $route $params $ID, and after that let's say dot then response, which should equal to curly brackets. Now we want to save or store the response into this employee object. So for that we can say this dot employee equals to response.data. Let's also show the response in our console. So console.log response.data, and after that we can declare our cache. So cache errors equals to curly brackets console.log and errors. Now let's create this endpoint in our routes file. So let's go to routes web.php, and at the top, guys, let's duplicate this one, and for this let's say get employee. Let's copy this one and paste it in here. Well, one thing more, guys, alongside with passing the ID like this, we have to declare an edit also in the URL, because if I show you, we have this edit in the URL, so it is already in the URL. We are only making a change in our next URL by saying to get employee. And if you don't put the edit slash in here, your route or link would not work. So this one should be get. Yeah, that's good. And don't also forget, guys, to declare a where clause in this any route. So let's say arrow where any equals to all the pages. And if you don't do this, if I refresh here, yeah, you can see it's throwing an error. But if I go back, refresh, now I said it, oh, that's the error is about something else. It says cannot read property name of undefined. Let's see what is the problem. So edit component, yeah, let's say this one is employee, and this one is also employee, and this one is also employee. Now if I go back, refresh, yeah, you can see now I hard reload, but our page doesn't go. And if I remove this where clause from here and save the file, and now if I refresh, you can see page not found. So this one is so important, guys. Don't forget to declare it. Now the next part is, guys, that we are not getting our data because we didn't write the code inside our controller. So now let's open this employee controller and create this get employee method. So let's go to app http controllers and employee controller, and in here at the bottom let's say public function get employee, and we have ID coming from the URL. So let's create a variable called emp, which should equal to employee model : find or fill the ID. After that we want to return our response to the JSON, and we want to pass the emp variable. Now if I go back and refresh, well, we are not getting the data. So let's get back, refresh, and edit again. Let's hard reload. Let's terminate our command prompt process and run it again. So now let's refresh our browser again. Well, it's not working. Yeah, it's not working. Well, let's see what is the problem. So let's go to edit component, and this is our employee, we are getting the employee. Yeah, a silly mistake, guys. We have to run this function in mounted or created functionality. So at the top, let's say mounted and curly brackets, and inside here we have to say this dot get employee. Now it will work. If I go back, refresh, yeah, you can see we are getting the data and it is showing in the console also. So if I go back and click on this one, yeah, we are getting the data about that specific employee. So our code is working just fine. Now the next part is, guys, to click on this create, or let's also change this create to update. When we click on this button, we have to update the data. So let's get back to our text editor, and first let's say this one should be update, and instead of create, let's say update also. Now let's create this update method. Well, we already have this create in our edit component. So what we can do is edit this one. Instead of create, let's say update, and the method is post. That's good. Instead of create, let's say update slash, we also want to pass the ID, so we can get that from the URL, this dot $route dot params dot ID. And this time, instead of form data, we want to pass the employee collection. So the other code is, I think, just fine. So now let's create this endpoint in our web.php. So let's go to web.php and let's duplicate this one. Instead of get employee, let's say update, and this one should be update, and leave the other URL as it is. So now we should create this update method inside our employee controller. So let's go to employee controller, and in here at the bottom, let's say public function update, and we have request coming from the form. So request $request, comma, we also have the ID in the URL. Now inside this method, what we can do is copy everything from the create or store. So let's copy this and paste it here. The only thing that we want to change is this new. Instead we can say employee model : find or fail the ID, and I think that's good to go. So now let's go back to browser and check our code if it works. So let's refresh. Let's say this jack has been updated, employee updated, and let's say this one is updated also, and click on update. Yeah, it says Laravel edit update not method not allowed. Well, if we go back to the text editor, go to this web.php, yeah, this method should be post. Change it to post and it will work. So let's get back, refresh. Let's say updated. This one is updated also, and this one is updated too. So click on update. Yeah, you can see everything has been updated successfully. So guys, I hope you enjoyed watching the video and learned from it. So if you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And don't also forget to subscribe to my channel if you are new to this channel to not miss any updates from me. So this was enough for this video, guys, and see you guys in the next video.